Hello and welcome to the Hive Live post-match podcast with myself, Rory Edwards. Alongside me is Brian Matovu, and our special guest today is the legend Harry Pritchard. How are you, mate?
Yeah, all good. Better after that win.
Certainly are. Now, why don't we get straight into it then? It's another huge step towards the National League title. There is no way around it. I know we want to guard against complacency, but if this isn't the time to get carried away as fans and as people watching from an observing point of view, then I don't know when is. But it's another fantastic victory, and the first goal came fairly early on from an unlikely source, Harry Pritchard.
Yeah, Miles Kenlock. He's been in those positions a few times, especially the games that I've come and watched and commentated. He's been in those positions a few times, and he's either looked to square it or cross it or pull it back for someone else. And maybe his eyes just lit up and he thought, I'm going to hit this one, and he hit it. And great finish into the roof of the net. Like I say, it just it set the tempo for the first half, especially, and I feel like very, very deserved.
It's so fitting that the final countdown was just blaring on the speakers as you're saying it. But yeah, Miles Kenlock, everyone was surrounding him and they were just so happy that he'd obviously scored his very first goal for Barnet. He's been such a huge player this season, and you could just tell the joy that was on the pitch at that moment.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, Miles Kenlock is probably a big character in the dressing room. He's always available, always healthy, always consistent. He performs as well. He's made a couple of mistakes, but overall this season he's been brilliant. A signing from the summer as well, so he's come into a new side and has fully embedded himself as one of the key players in that back line. And he's come close a couple of times this season. I remember one at Hartlepool where he had a shot, and always when he puts the ball in the box, he always has a really good delivery. But this time he probably thought, you know what, I've put in good balls in the box the whole season, let me have a strike. He hit the back of the net, and a perfect start for the Bees. Yeah,
a bit of an unsung hero maybe, Miles Kenlock, in that back line, but so ever present and hasn't missed a game.
No, I think just touching on what Brian said, Dean loves reliability. If you're reliable and you can be consistent every single week in, week out, you don't have to be the best player on the pitch. As long as you're giving 7 out of 10 performances week in, week out, that's all he wants. And I feel like Miles Kenlock is that. He's every single week. Obviously, you're going to get games like today where he's a little bit more than a 7 out of 10 a week. But I think you struggle to find any games where he's not been at least a 6, 7 out of 10.
Yeah, and obviously scoring fairly early on against a side, the voodoo side, as Dean likes to say, like Gateshead. Do you think that maybe just settled the nerves a little bit, if there were any?
Yeah, I think so. I think going into the game, Barnet full of confidence. Gateshead had probably lost a little bit of a battle coming into the game, losing 5 on the bounce, and then knowing that they're going to have to come to Barnet and try and get a result. So you kind of almost got one up on your opponents then. And like you say, it's a totally different two teams now compared to in the past when they played each other. I feel like Gateshead were a lot better in the past than they are now, and Barnet were worse than they are now, clearly, because obviously they're top of the league. And I just think, the golfing class this season just shows the difference between the two teams.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, for Gateshead, it's always going to be tough coming to the Hive side against a side that hasn't lost a game all season, only drawn 3. The only positive for Gateshead was that they'd beaten Barnet already this season, one of the few sides to do that. So, and also their record, like you said, hadn't lost in 6 games against Dean Brennan. So they did have that confidence coming into the game, but their forms were really, really poor. And this Barnet side, I mean, not many sides are going to beat them, especially at the Hive. So coming to this game was also going to be tough for them, and that's why it ended 3-1.
Well, this is exactly the sort of season where bogey sides are dispatched. You got Rochdale, Oldham, they're historically tough nuts to crack for Barnet as well. And the Bees completely destroyed them, 3-0, 4-0. Alty, another difficult side for the Bees as well in the past. Beat them 1-0, got through that. And another one to tick off the list with Gateshead. So many curses being lifted, I think, this season, certainly. So we go from someone who scores his first goal for the club in Miles Kenlock to someone who's got his 14th goal of the season in Callum Stead. Just how, we will talk about how brilliant he was today and how he very much deserves the Man of the Match award that we will give him. But the first finish, when he just sort of collected it and, drove inside, shimmied this way, shimmied that way, and just calmly puts it into the bottom corner. I mean, it shows the man of the mark's quality. Yeah, a mark of the man's quality.
Yeah, absolutely. He's doing that in training every single day from when I was with him last season. And I think last season was his first season in full-time football. He came out of part-time, obviously, from the season before. So last year, he's kind of just adjusting to the full-time schedule. He was probably a little bit tired, fatigued in some of the games. You can see the amount of running that he does, so he probably wasn't recovering as quicker. And I remember him coming back in pre-season, and he looked like he'd been in the gym. He looked fitter, he looked stronger, and that just proves that obviously working hard outside of football as well. The stick that he gets in the dressing room for not being the brightest, but he absolutely works so hard on the pitch, and he's every teammate's dream, because you just know that he's going to be working super hard every game, and he's going to create a chance for himself or someone else at least 2 or 3 times a game.
Yeah, absolutely. Got to agree with everything Pritch said there, and just adding on to his work rate, he's someone that, as a manager, you always use him as an example of how you should be like in a match. Always chasing after everything, never giving up. And to be fair for Callum Stead, the only one knock on him this season potentially is that he hasn't got even more goals, which is what we know he's capable of, because he chases after everything. He creates his own chances, and the first goal is absolutely brilliant. Something people talk about a lot that we're missing, the trickery, the invention, the flair, and he showed that in abundance. Just getting the ball back, dribbling, Cruyffing one turn, Cruyffing again, and finding the bottom corner. Goals we love to see, and he scored a brilliant goal.
He certainly did, and I suppose when you match that tireless work rate with quality at the end, which he's now showing, and he's really come on leaps and bounds this season. Didn't have a bad season last season either. And he's sort of Dean Brennan's project, isn't he, in a way? But this kid is going to go on to such good things. Yeah,
absolutely. I think he just needs to keep his head down, work hard at it. Obviously, that's what you say to everybody. He's definitely not going to not work hard. He's going to be, like you say, if they can keep hold of him next season, if Barnet do get promoted in League Two, it'll be a good test for him to see how he gets on. Obviously, a little bit more physical, I think. League Two, I don't think nowadays there's too much of a difference between League Two and the National League with the sides, and obviously the setup that we have here and the full-time facilities and stuff like that. He'll be able to push on, and like you say, if Barnet can keep hold of him, he'll be a very, very important player next season.
Yeah, and so we got into half-time at 2-0, and it was cruise control, really, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So what do you then do in the second half? Because it didn't really kick into life, did it?
Yeah, the game got into a bit of a stalemate where no one was really doing much. Barnet were keeping the ball. Gateshead would just like break us down if you can, even though Barnet were 2-0 up, and it's just a little bit of magic from Gateshead, to be fair to him. It was really good, intricate play from Javon Malcolm, and then Sellers Fletcher, who came off the bench. And
this was late in the game, though. This was 10 minutes from the end, wasn't it?
Yeah, literally.
But before that, it was like it threatened to be petering out, didn't it?
Yeah, threatened to be petering out. Threatened to just Barnet 2-0 win, go home, job done, well done. But just invention, individual brilliance will always break down those sort of stalemates in games. That's exactly what happened with Gateshead.
It was a great finish, wasn't it, Pritch?
Yeah, very, very well taken. I think he didn't really give Evans much chance to set himself. I think it was kind of under his feet, and he's just dug it out. And like you say, he's curled it into the top corner. I don't think any keeper's saving that, to be honest. But like I say, it made it a little bit of a nervy last kind of 10 minutes going into the game, and fair play to him. He missed that chance in the first half. He could have had his head down, and being 2-0 down, not really getting any more chances. He could have just given up, but he didn't. So fair play to him, and he got his team back in it.
Do you think Malcolm's goal was a case of hold your hands up and say really good goal, or do you think there were things that, defensive lapses that might have stopped that in the bud earlier?
I think Dean Brennan will be looking at that, the defensive, the lapses of stopping at the long ball going into the front man, the 1-2s that they played. Could they have stopped that from happening? So he'll be looking at that. But the main thing is the 3 points at the end of the day.
Certainly is. And we sensed that there would probably be another goal in the game. You called it on comms, and it didn't go the way of Gateshead, as it might have done in the Rochdale game. I know we mentioned that we had shades of Rochdale when they hit the bar 3 times, but that never really happened, and Gateshead never really looked likely to find that equaliser, and it took a last-second counter-attack to truly kill the game off and really put the icing on the cake, especially for Callum Stead. Yeah,
definitely. I feel like the difference between this year and last year, we probably felt like some of the games, if a team had scored 10 minutes towards the end, we're hanging on a little bit now. We're playing for that keep the score the same, and we ended up conceding a few late goals, whereas here I never felt that. As soon as Gateshead scored, I never felt like they were going to keep attacking, getting into the box. Barnet slowed the game down, they controlled it. So maybe that's something coming from the management team that they've installed in with these new players, more experienced players. They know how to win a game of football, and that's how you're going to end up winning titles and getting promotion.
It was another brilliant finish from Steady, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, fantastic from Callum Stead. I mean, he could have just went to the corner, ran the clock down, because it was literally, 20 seconds left of the game. But Callum Stead bursting with confidence, just drives in, again, dribbling past a couple of players, finds that half yard and fantastically puts it into the far corner via the post. And caps off a fantastic performance from him. And that just sums up how brilliant he's been this season.
Yeah, so it finished in the end. Obviously, Barnet 3, Gateshead 1. Would it be fair to say that, obviously, you mentioned Gateshead's poor form, and they made 5 changes, and they brought in some new players that are still yet to bed in, and there's question marks about whether they're really up to speed. How much did that play a part, realistically, in the result of this match?
Yeah, obviously, like you say, there's new players that are coming in that might not have had time to gel with the team or understand how the manager wants to play. That's always going to happen, but at this stage of the season, it's almost panic station. Like if they're losing 5 games on a spin, what else are you going to do? You can't keep playing the same players that are losing. So maybe those players that got rested, needed that rest, and it was a good chance for them to rest. They weren't really likely going to win this game, so they've rested them. Maybe they can have be fresh for the next game. Might be a more important game for them, where they're likely to get a result. So yeah, I mean, you never really know what goes on behind the scenes, but it's good that they've got new players coming in. It will keep the players that kind of think that they're playing week in, week out on their toes as well, especially coming into the playoffs.
Yeah, certainly. Any other further comments, Brian?
Yeah, just on that, I think, listen, if Gateshead had been in 5 wins in a row coming to this game, I think people would have expected Barnet to still win this matchup. But I think for them, they had to change up, because the losses they had were all the teams were below them, and you go into losing 5 losses in a row. It's really, really poor form, and what they got coming up, they've got York still to play, Forest Green to play, so it doesn't get any easier for them really, and just after losing to Barnet. So I'm looking at the table right now, they're just 3 points behind, in front of like Tamworth, Altrincham, who are on their heels for that last playoff place. And a month ago, Gateshead, you would thought they were nailed on in the playoffs, but now they're really, really clinging on to that last playoff spot.
Yeah, I was saying on comms, nobody seems to want to get promoted. It looks like Alty have drawn against already relegated Ebbsfleet. Yeah, that's they'll be really poor. Really disappointed with that. So next up then it's Braintree away, and we know that York came undone there, so can Barnet take some lessons from that and just get the job done without that sort of complacency or fuss?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like we always say that there's no easy game in this league, and I'm sure Braintree will be wanting to beat Barnet's record of unbeaten games. So yeah, they'll do their homework this week, Barnet and the management team, and I'm sure they'll go into the game obviously full of confidence. It's going to be a difficult game, difficult pitch, definitely not like the pitch that we have out here, but they'll go there with a game plan. They might go a little bit longer, depending on how fit Liam Love is. They might go a bit more longer, physical as well, rather than getting the ball down, passing it around on the pitch. But obviously we'll have to see who is available for selection on that day.
100%. And as much as we want to avoid complacency and talking in certainties when there are no certainties in life, but for a few things, when do you think, Brian, in your heart of hearts, that Barnet could win the National League?
I think they win at the earliest opportunity possible. So I think we were looking at it before the game when just talking about, I think it's the Eastleigh game. I think that's when they can mathematically get to that 99 points, that magic number, and go up in that sense. So I think they'll win out, Barnet. I don't see them losing or drawing a game coming up soon. So they've got Braintree away. I see the Bees winning that. Then after that, I think, is it Wealdstone at home? Potentially, yeah, Wealdstone at home. I think they win that game. So unless York City drop points, I'd see Barnet winning out. So whenever that happens, I see them going up at the earliest opportunity.
Pritch, could they go unbeaten for the rest of the season?
If they win it early, probably not, because they'll be on holiday.
Be on the beers, won't they?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think it'll be nice to do it against Wealdstone, wouldn't it? The local rivals, and obviously with the history of the management team and Wealdstone and whatnot, it'd be nice to beat them there. But yeah, I think they'll just want to do it at the earliest opportunity they can, and they've got 1 foot and 3/4 of the other foot into that League Two, haven't they? So I think it's just that final push now, and like I say, they won't take any game lightly, and they'll focus for the next game as hard as they did for this game.
Yeah, I've got to agree with Pritchard. Yeah, next game, tough game, Braintree. I'm looking at the table now. Braintree aren't out of relegation contention yet. Same with Wealdstone. So Barnet got to go into this fixtures knowing that those sides have got a lot to play for. National League status. on the line. So, but I think Barnet, given how strong they are, they're just in such good form. They haven't lost since October of last year, so it's hard to see any opportunity where they're going to lose a game. But like Pritchard said, anything can happen in the National League, and we've seen strange things happen.
Well, as we know, 99 points guarantees promotion to the Football League.
They want that 100, wouldn't they?
They will want that. Dean Brennan has set the target at 100.
Yeah.
99 guarantees promotion. I would take 99. 100 is a very noble target.
Yeah.
But on current form, I mean, it is ridiculous. The form that Barnet are in, they're well on course for over 100 points. As statistically it stands, that's not complacency or anything like that.
Yeah.
Statistically, I mean, it's just crazy.
Yeah, I think... it's one game at a time. I know Dean keeps saying it, one game at a time, but you've got to be having a little kind of look over your one eye on that 100 points target.
Yeah.
If that's what you set out at the start of the year, that's what you want to go for. So even if they do win the league, knowing Dean, he probably won't be happy with just winning the league. He'll then want to get 100 points as well.
Absolutely, yeah, got to agree. Actually, any record you can smash or break, you're definitely going to want to do that. And they could go down as one of the best Barnet sides ever, potentially, and especially at this level, if they can keep on winning all those games and just break more and more records. And that's got to be the goal. As soon as you get promoted, what records can we break? How can we be remembered?
Well, why don't we finish off by having a look at some of those potential records that could be broken then. Courtesy, by the way, of Downhill Second Half. Great articles they do, and a great Twitter account as well. Make sure you follow them. So the most wins for Barnet, that's in the league, that's 28. And that was in Martin Allen's championship winning season. We're now matching that, now on 28. And the all-time record is 30. So with 6 more games to go... Could Barnet get the most wins in the league?
Yes.
Quite possibly. Let's
put your money on it.
Certainly on course for it. Most points was 92. That was also set in the championship winning season, 2015. Currently on 91, so just 1 point away from matching that as well. The most clean sheets, sadly not another one today, but 20 clean sheets for the season, which is a club record.
Wow.
And 8 consecutive away clean sheets, which is still ongoing, albeit Owen Evans has sadly conceded his second ever goal in the league today. It was a good one, but 8 consecutive away clean sheets, that is some record. Does this play on your mind as a player? Like, does this have any relevance to you?
No, not when you're playing. I think, just touching on the clean sheets though, it's as good as it is going forward and scoring all the goals. I feel like title winning teams, championship winning teams, playoff winning teams are the ones that concede the least amount of goals. You know, if you don't concede any goals in the game, you might score straight from a corner, you might score a set piece, you might score a penalty, and you win 1-0 and you go away with the win. So yeah, the tighter you are at the back, the more secure and solid you are at the back, I feel like that's how you win titles.
I do have a bonus question for you, Pritch, actually, now come to think of it. Defensively, earlier in the season, Barnet and Dean Brennan were sort of levelled with some criticism that they just couldn't keep it tight at the back, and it was like, oh, we'll just have to outscore you. And that didn't always happen. I'm thinking back to Solihull Moors away, even Dagenham and Redbridge when Brown scored that last-minute winner. Barnet were 3-1 down, and it almost shouldn't have taken that long, or they shouldn't have been in that situation in the first place.
Yeah.
But things have just tightened up magnificently with the introduction of Owen Evans, Liam Love. And we were talking to Danny Collins on the podcast as well, and he couldn't really pinpoint any particular reason. But what do you think? What has changed from those early days? Has it just clicked?
Yeah, I think getting a load of new players in, obviously you're working on the way you want to play all throughout pre-season. It's going to take a little bit of time through the season because obviously pre-season games aren't the same as season games, so it's going to take its time and training day in day out and keep being relentless and consistent with it. It will eventually click. I remember the first time I came here and understood the way that he wanted to play. It took us a while to kind of all gel and all click and understand how he wanted us to play. So I think that's what's just happened, and it's taken maybe the first third of the season for it to actually take its toll to kick in. Obviously he's changed the goalkeeper now as well, so he wanted different things from the goalkeeper, and probably apart from Danny and Addy of the back four or the back three or whatever, everyone else is new, so they didn't really understand how he wanted to play. So I think it's just taking its time and luckily now it's all clicked, and they're right force.
Yeah, I mean, lest we forget that in the reverse fixture, which Barnet lost, one of the few losses this season, it's only 5 losses this season, one of 5 losses this season. Reece Hall-Johnson was actually in that back line. Nick Hayes was in goal. Joe Kizzy was playing that, and these are players who have not been in the fold for quite a while now. So, to your point, absolutely. Point proven, really. Any final thoughts on that, Brian, before we wrap up?
Yeah, absolutely. I just got to agree. Everything's just clicked for Barnet in perfect way. Do you know what I mean? All those clean sheets you're talking about, 8 consecutive on the road. So I think everything's clicked. And when you're winning games, the confidence just oozes throughout the side. So when you're winning games 2-0, 3-0, even if it's not a great defensive performance, that just builds confidence in the back line that you can keep clean sheets. And also, Dean Brennan's definitely pushing them in training, like, get a clean sheet. And if you can get clean sheet bonuses, that also helps as well. So everything's clicked perfectly for Barnet and Dean Brennan's side, and defensively been absolutely fantastic.
Just touching on that, so one more thing. Last season, I remember him talking about what Chesterfield did to win the league and how he can replicate that, because obviously that's what you want to do. And they were in on a Sunday, so you normally have Wednesdays and Sundays off. They were in every Sunday if they had a Tuesday game, so they had 2 days prep for the next game rather than just the Monday. Because the Monday you come in, players who played do a cool down session, and you might go out on the pitch and just do a walkthrough to prep for the next game. But players are coming in on Sunday, they're sacrificing their home time, their home life, and I think that's absolutely paid off, because I feel like coming in on that extra day, another day of learning how the system to play, to recover again, to go again for the Tuesday night. And again, credit to the management team. It's taken a lot of work and a lot of effort, but hopefully they get rewarded at the end of the season.
Well, if you look at historical sporting success stories, like the British cycling team I read about as well, it's these 1% margins, isn't it? It's these tiny margins that just build up and compound, and it just looks like Dean Brennan has subscribed very much to that philosophy.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the devil's in the detail, and you can just see how much this hard work is paying off. You can see the dedication he and his coaching staff have to this job, and the project that they're currently realising, and they're so close to it now, so close. Anyway, a happy memory for you, Pritch, against Gateshead finally.
Finally.
Yes, you weren't on the pitch, but you were very much there in spirit.
Yeah, that's it.
And the players obviously knew you were up. Did they say anything about you on going on comms?
Yeah, they know. Most times I come in there like, you on comms, and I think they want me to be, so they get the win.
Look, these are the 1%, aren't they? These are the 1%, right? Any final thoughts, Brian?
Just on that, the famous saying: goals win games, defences win championships.
Perfect.
Lovely note to close on now. So finishing up then, Barnet 3, Gateshead 1 on the night. Another brilliant result at Fortress Hive. Thanks so much for joining the Hive Live podcast, and if you tuned into the commentary, I hope you enjoyed our coverage. Pritch, we hope you'll be back very soon. Braintree away obviously next week. Wealdstone at home is the next home game. So we'll see you for that one, and in the meantime, have a lovely rest of your weekend. Take care.